Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to add permanent vinyl to a glass can cup. I'll be using multiple colors and sharing some tips and tricks to help you get the best results. Whether you're a beginner or just looking for ways to make the process smoother, I hope you find this video helpful. My glass can is a 16 ounce. I bought it on Amazon, but I've bought a couple brands and I don't have the packaging anymore, so I don't know exactly which one this is, but I can leave some links down in the description box of the ones I've bought in the past. First, what I want to do is measure it. I take my measuring tape and wrap it around the glass. This one's pretty easy. It's 9 3/4, but sometimes it's on the other dashes, and I have this cheat sheet that I use to figure out my sizing. You might have seen my Cricut hack video that I just posted, and this was the first hack in that video. Next, I'm measuring the height. It looks like it's 5 inches, but I don't want to measure the part that curves at the top and bottom because the vinyl won't lay flat there, so I decided to do 4 1/4. I think this came in a 4-pack. I would measure each individual glass can because sometimes they can be a little bit different. I am going to be using the Tech Wrap Craft Bubble-Free Chrome Vinyl. The bubble-free vinyl is so nice when adding to glass because it really prevents bubbles from coming through. The colors I'm using are aqua blue, blue lavender, and begonia rose. You don't have to use bubble-free vinyl. There's not a lot that actually is bubble-free, but you do want to make sure you are using any type of permanent vinyl. One thing that I love about the Tech Wrap Craft Vinyl is the colors are always so beautiful, so I'm excited to use this. I'm over in Creative Fabrica and I'm going to download my SVG. They always have tons to choose from in here. I have their membership so I can download any of these. I always have a link for Creative Fabrica down in my description box because that's where I find almost all of my SVGs and fonts. It's really convenient to have it all in one spot. Their yearly membership is just way too good of a deal for me to pass up. It's only $3.99 a month. The one that I chose is this butterfly image. I'll just hit download and it'll pull up here. I'm just going to click it to unzip it. Over in Cricut Design Space, I'll click on Upload. I'll go to Upload Image. As you can see, there's a PNG image and an SVG image. PNG is when you're printing something. It's easy to remember because it has the P in front of it, but SVG is when you want to have different layers and you're using vinyl. I'm going to double click on that one. So I pulled it into Cricut Design Space. Over in the Layers panel, you can see kind of an arrow. If you click on that, it shows you the different layers. What's nice about this SVG is it's separated into layers. So the hearts are all a layer, the butterflies like the solid butterfly, and then the other one is a layer. I will hit Ungroup. This makes it a lot easier to work with. I'm going to make each layer a different color. Here's the bubble-free Mere Chrome vinyl I'm using. This is an extra step that you do not have to do, but I like to do this to help me visualize my colors before it's on the tumbler. There's so many times where I think the colors are going to look great, and when it's done, I just am not happy with it. So I like to do this a lot. One of the colors I'm using is this begonia rose. I pull up my color dropper that I have installed on my computer and I hover over the color. I use my mouse to select it. In the upper right corner, you can see it automatically copied my hex code. So I'll go back into Cricut. I'm going to select the heart layer. Then under advanced, I can highlight over this whole thing. I hit Command V on my keyboard to paste it. Next, I'll do the butterflies. Aqua blue is another color I'm thinking about using, so I highlight over that and select it. I go back over here and make the butterfly that color. And then the last one, I am using blue lavender. So I'll do the same thing. Okay, that's how it looks. I honestly wish I had another blue or purplish color. I think it would match a little bit better than the red, but I don't, so we're just gonna go with this. Next, I'll go over to the Shapes button and grab a square. This is going to be my guide to figure out my sizing. I measured my tumbler already. The height is 4.75 and the width around the whole tumbler is 9.75. So what I'll do is switch this to a guide. Then I'll go up and make the width that number. And then the height. I need to make this fit inside my guide. What I'm going to do is drag my mouse over this whole thing. As you can see in the layers panel, it will select all 3 layers. Then I'm going to group it together. Now I can bring it over here and just make it fit inside this guide. I want to bring it as close to the edge as possible. Another thing I like to do is hit select all and center this, just to make sure it all looks good. There is going to be a little bit of extra space on the top and the bottom, but that's okay. Sometimes I prefer that because if it's too close to where the glass curves, it's going to put little folds in the vinyl. But that looks great. Now I'm ready to hit the make button. It's going to pull it onto 3 different mats. I'll hit continue. This mirror chrome vinyl is pretty similar to holographic vinyl, so I use that cut setting and it works really well for it. Since this is a holographic vinyl, it has a protective sheet over it to protect it from scratches, so I like to cut it down to size to make it easier to remove that sheet. I pull out that measuring tape and I am going to cut it down to 5 inches by 10 inches. This is really nice. All you do is pull the vinyl over to the 5-inch and cut it off. And I rotate it and I have it go over to the 10-inch and cut that out. I follow the exact same process for the other 2 vinyl sheets. Also, I like to go a little past the size of the design. That's why I'm doing 5 by 10 inches. How's everybody doing this winter? I'm asking because it is -10 where I live and it's horrible. I am so ready for spring. I'm also ready for some spring and Easter projects that I'm hoping to get posted on my channel really soon. I take that protective sheet off, place the vinyl on my cutting mat, then I load it into the Cricut machine and it'll cut out that first design. Once that's done, I'll remove the vinyl from the mat and I'll have it cut out the 2 other colors. Has anyone started any Easter or spring projects? I want to go check out the stores and see if they've gotten anything out yet. Now I'm ready to weed my design. I probably could have selected more for the cut pressure, but it did okay. I realized I could have trimmed some of that off. I felt like I was wasting vinyl, so I went in and added the vinyl back to that backing so I can add it to my scrap bin. For this particular project, I don't recommend doing that, and you'll see why it caused a little bit of a problem, so stay tuned for that. I should not have trimmed that one either. When weeding this one, I lost one of the butterfly's antennas. Thankfully, I was able to save it. I just took it out of that weeded sheet and added it back on. This is something I could have added in my Cricut hack videos, but I didn't think about it until now. But a tip when you're weeding, if it's a little bit of a struggle to weed, take scissors and cut away some of the vinyl you've already weeded. It just makes it so much easier to weed out that vinyl. One thing I did not like about this is some of the little dots in the butterfly were so tiny that I wasn't able to weed it out. The Cricut actually cut it fine. I just could not get it weeded out of there. So this design might work better if you're doing like print and cut instead of weeding. I just thought I would save you some of the hassle. If you really like the image, what you can do with those tiny pieces is use the contour button to get rid of them. That way it won't cut out those little circles at all. Here's kind of an example on the screen. It's a little hard to see, but I'm clicking on those little dots to get rid of them. Now I'm ready to layer these images. The trick here is to add everything to one transfer sheet. I cut out my transfer sheet to be the same size as my vinyl sheet, so that's about 5 by 10 inches. Then I add the transfer sheet to the vinyl. I scrape it down really well on the front and the back. Then I go in and remove the backing. Sorry for the blurry camera, but I cut out a piece of parchment paper the same size as that backing, so 5 by 10. I add my transfer tape with the vinyl on it on top of my parchment paper sheet, but I do leave a little exposed sticky space at the top. I chose the butterflies to put on top. I could have done the hearts as well. The parchment paper serves as a barrier between the two vinyl sheets, so you can line it up exactly where you want it before sticking it down. Once it's lined up where I want it, I press down on that sticky sheet at the top, and I carefully lift up my transfer sheet and remove the parchment paper. You want to make sure that bottom piece doesn't move at all while you're doing this. Here's where trimming the backing became a problem. You can see on the left the butterflies that don't have a backing sheet underneath it. Thankfully, it did not stick to the mat that I had. But like I said, don't trim the vinyl, keep them all that size, which on mine I've said it a lot, but it's 5 by 10 inches. Now I can remove that backing vinyl and I'll have both vinyl sheets on one transfer sheet. Next, I'll follow the same parchment paper process to add my pink hearts to the same transfer sheet. I added one of the vinyl backings to it, so I had the vinyl be able to go onto that and not the mat. Another helpful tip here is I had Cricut Design Space on my computer pulled up right next to me. That way I can look at the design and make sure I'm lining it up exactly how I want it. This time with the transfer sheet that's exposed at the top, I had it so that it was pressed down onto the backing of the hearts. You might be able to see it when I take the parchment paper away. It just makes sure the hearts don't move around at all. I remove this backing and I have my whole thing on the transfer sheet ready to add to my glass cup. Next, I use rubbing alcohol to clean off any dirt on the glass. This step really helps the vinyl to adhere well, and it just helps with the longevity of the vinyl. I recommend having some type of cup holder. I just would struggle a lot with this before I had one. This is my process. You could always do it differently, but I just line up the center first. Then I slowly wrap it around both sides of the glass cup. When it gets to the seam area, the transfer tape can be in the way. I just lift the transfer tape up so that I'm able to lay the vinyl flat on the glass. Then I go through just with my hand and make sure everything is pressed down nice on the glass. There is a spot on one of the butterflies that had a little fold in it, so I'll show you how I fix that here in a second. I remove the transfer tape. I do this slowly. I just want to make sure none of the vinyl lifts up as I'm taking it off. I've had the vinyl be ruined because it rips when I do that. Here's the butterfly that wasn't laying flat. I was able to lift it gently off the glass and smooth it back out. The nice thing about vinyl is it can be forgiving that way. Then I remove the rest of the transfer tape. Here's another look at how it turned out. Like I said, I wish the hearts was another like purple bluish color, but I still think it looks really pretty. These are fun to make for specific holidays for your coffee. I've also made them for teacher appreciation gifts and put like candy inside. I hope you enjoyed this video and found my tips useful, also my mistakes useful as well. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I love it if you subscribed if you are new to my channel.